But that was one of the ones that I was like constantly renting from the video store.
Yeah.
Just
so you're familiar.
all the time. Yeah. And I used to cry when he fell into the volcano at the end.
At the end?
Yeah. Because I thought he was dying. And not just being like trapped. So, being a kid.
Sure.
Being a kid's fun.
Speaking of having fun and being a kid, welcome to the One About Godzilla movies. I am your co-host. My name is Brian, and that is...
Hi, I'm Caleb. I was talking to my friend Rosie the other day about like some stuff that I do, and she was like, "Yeah, you've got that one about Godzilla movies or whatever." I was like, "Yeah, that's what it's called." She goes, "No, what's the name of that podcast?" I said, "Yeah, the one about Godzilla movies." She was like, "Oh."
Literally, I had a similar conversation actually describing what it was, and they were like trying to type it into their phone. We're like, "Yeah, no, so what's it called?" I'm like, "The one about Godzilla movies." Hilarious. I've actually had a few people recently mention, I don't know if their listeners just kind of like ran across it. We're like, "Yeah, don't you have like that Godzilla podcast?" So, and then
Nice.
This guy the other day was like, "Oh, I just really like that franchise, man. It's really cool." And I was like, "Oh, what's your favorite movie?" I was like, I've seen like some bits here and there. I just think it's really cool." So, yeah, man.
That's dope. I love it. So yeah, dude, here we are again. We do this.
Here we are.
Here we are again on a Monday. And new era,
Heisei-era today.
The Heisei-era. We just wrapped up a little bit of a discussion that our Patreon viewers can see. Patreon.com/the one about Godzilla movies.
It's a good name.
About the film The Return of Godzilla from 1984, which ended up being episode 2 of this podcast because we went through every like origin or rebirth story of Godzilla when we first started the show.
Yeah.
And so Brian watched it again today and just kind of gave some notes about that. And it's actually really great that you did that because the film that we're discussing today, while it didn't come out for another 5 years after The Return of Godzilla, 1989, we are, I feel like, finally into a true like bit of continuity in the Godzilla universe.
I was gonna call it like a sequel in the truest form.
Yeah.
Like literally, let's pick up where the last movie left off and go from there, kind of a thing.
Yeah. So I don't know if we named it. You've probably seen it in the title already because you clicked it to start the video or the podcast. But we're discussing the movie Godzilla versus Biollante from 1989, the second movie in the Heisei-era. And just a quick touch on eras too, as long as we're talking about it. The eras have literally nothing really to do with who was directing these movies or who was like in charge of anything to do with Godzilla, and purely named for the the emperors that were reigning in Japan during these chunks of time that they were making these films. So
I've heard. So that's a 5-year time jump in the filmmaking here.
Mm-hmm. And
I did want to point out, because I looked up, I cut you off, sorry, but
go ahead.
1989, I was thinking, wow, 5-year time jump, crazy. And I was wondering, okay, what are some other movies? Because we're now getting into closer to the year of my birth. Trying to think of other movies that came out in 1989. So I just came up with a quick list. Let's see. Tim Burton Batman 1989, and Indiana Jones Last Crusade.
Dude, and she says that this is like spoiler alert for the whole movie, but she says that the one dude looks like Batman in this movie when he's got mud on his face at the end. After
when did she say that?
At the very, very end, after the dude fights the guy in the mud pit with the gun.
Yeah, at the very, very end.
And then the girl comes up to him, and he's got because he went like this, and now he's got like dirt on his face. And
Was
she's
that in the
handing
subtitles?
him, yeah,
I missed that.
yeah, as she's handing him a napkin,
I missed everything
she goes,
good.
"You look like Batman." And she's like handing him this like cloth to wipe the dirt off of his face. Anyways,
how about that?
Tim Burton's Batman,
Little Mermaid?
Little Mermaid, nice.
Oh wow. I'm gonna say that one last. Christmas Vacation. So many people rewatch that at holiday time. Yes. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Driving Miss Daisy, Around the World, Cinema Paradiso, like one of the IMDb top 100.
I was gonna say Daft Punk,
Kiki's Delivery Servants.
Ooh, dude,
which I believe is
I love Kiki's.
One of your favorites, right?
Yeah.
There's a film called Black Rain, which I need to watch, but it's a Japanese film. It's a post-Hiroshima drama.
Oh.
That would be an interesting one to watch. Those are most of the ones that I... anyways, James Cameron made a movie called The Abyss, which I still need to see. It's not necessarily like a critically acclaimed movie, but I believe it won Oscar for Best VFX. It is the first ILM 3D computer-generated graphics.
Oh.
I almost said graphics.
Graphics.
There's that soft G coming through. And so just from a VFX history, it's like significant. Because they sort of they basically, like, there is, I don't know the plot, but there's water that's forming into a human face and having a conversation like we would if we were facing each other.
Yeah,
but the one, it's as if like the spirit of someone is in the water, and it like rises up, and it like morphs and kind of takes the shape of like a real human face and is having a conversation. And this was like revolutionary. So the order, if you, that I think the thing they did right after that was Jurassic Park, and that was like everyone knows about. Oh wow, like they had these dinosaurs in the movie that were computer generated. Whoa, anything's possible.
Yeah.
And then there's a movie called Death Becomes Her, which for some really random reason my parents watched the other night, and my mom was saying it was really dumb, and then I was ranting about how the VFX was cool in it. They like did some cool effects in the movie where there's like a hole in a person and you can like see through them, and they like made it with computers, and that was like really significant, even though the movie's not that great. And then I think the fourth one, just as far as I'm going to go with this tangent, is Terminator 2, where you have like the guy who's made of liquid metal.
Yeah, dude.
And like morphs through walls and bars and crazy stuff. And like just literally that 3-year period, change in history, baby. Just in terms of like what's possible.
Yeah,
and we look back at it now, and it's like sometimes it looks a little weird. Sometimes it's like still holds up. It's like it's about how long you put into it and how you prepare for knowing that you're going to be doing something using VFX, and so the kind of materials you gather and kind of plan for it. So,
well, it's just cool to see.
Stuff.
Yeah, and like how quickly that all developed, and like how there were that many schools of thought of it that quickly. Like you just said, of like. No, like the people who were able to kind of have that forethought of like, well, we're going to be dealing with it in this way eventually, so we need to be acting this way now, or compositing this thing this way now, or whatever it is. Yeah. So
ultimately, like, my point in mentioning all those movies is we're on the brink of a new era of what's possible in filmmaking, especially when it comes to monster movies, kaiju films, things that are fantastical in nature and don't represent reality. What you can show in a movie is about to change significantly, starting kind of around this time of this movie we're about to talk about. Speaking of cinematic history, Caleb, you have a bit of a dorsal fin situation going on in your head today.
Yeah, well,
it's reminding me a little bit of the spikes going down Godzilla's back and the Return of Godzilla, and also this film.
Yeah. I mean, you know me.
Does it light up?
It could.
Imagine if your hair could just glow on command. That'd be sick.
How does this?
Oh, backlit. Yes. Cinematic. All right.
There. Ooh, hair light.
Gotta love that.
Should I get a hair light?
Godzilla versus Biollante.
Should I get a hair light? / should I get another one, like the other one of these out that I have and do it? Anyways. Godzilla versus Biollante. Dude, let me do a quick little like overview for us here.
Sure.
Basically, directly after the events of Return of Godzilla,
Literally.
which I didn't know until today, was in Japan, was just called Gojira.
The 1984 film.
Yeah.
Or are you talking about?
Yeah, it's just called Gojira.
Really?
Anyways, here in Biollante, directly after the events in that film, scientists are starting to gather like pieces of Godzilla that were like ripped off on buildings and stuff, and they're using his genetic material that they are calling G cells to, they're just learning that maybe there are things that could be done with it.
Sure.
And science. And we have this scientist, Dr. Shiragami, who begins doing a science with the G cells and some plants. And his daughter is killed in an accident, and he then, because he's grieving her and this kind of stuff, like starts doing some experiments and creates a monster. Meanwhile, there's a terrorist organization trying to steal these G cells from Japan, and they are essentially using Godzilla as a hostage, or the negotiation of like, hey, give us this stuff, or we're going to release him from the volcano that you trapped him in at the end of the last movie. Seeing as, Godzilla versus Biollante, clearly they let him out of the volcano. He fights the monster, which we'll talk about how it's made here in a minute. But yeah, so we've just kind of got like dark, melancholy, sci-fi, biotech, horror, tragedy, just kind of like all mashed into this new era of Godzilla films that don't feel like goofy and weird anymore and are like kind of actually about heavy things. So yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
So Godzilla's gonna fight a rose.
That's all. I'd love to see the pitch meeting for this one. I'm not gonna lie. I'm wondering if when did you see this one? I'm seeing here in my notes that it didn't ever come to theater in the U.S., but it looks like HBO had it like as soon as like 1992, maybe.
I have a feeling I didn't see any of this, anything outside of anything Heisei-era or newer. I didn't see until the late 90s, like late 90s. Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of the stuff you saw on like TV and stuff was mostly Showa then?
Yeah, Showa, and for some reason the 1984 like Return of Godzilla and the 1985 one with William, whatever the heck his name is, William Buford or whatever.
Raymond Burr.
Raymond, yeah, sure. I saw that one quite a bit, but like, yeah, Biollante and like the new Ghidorah one, the new Mechagodzilla one, like the ones that are later on, like, yeah, not until the late 90s. And
how Hamilton has Aaron Burr, sir? What if they inserted Raymond Burr, sir, into the musical Hamilton, but instead he was just kind of newscast recapping the events of the play? It's just how my brain works. What were you saying?
Just that, yeah, I didn't really see.
Just because his name is Raymond Burr, that's where that thought came from.
Hey, whatever. what was I saying? Just that I didn't see any of the Heisei stuff onwards until probably like mid to late 90s. So
Gotcha. I'd also like to point out that significant source of hilarity is the title of these movies. When they air in Germany, they're always some other thing. This one, no exception. They called it Godzilla Duel of the Megasaurs. They just, If I just like scroll through some of these movies and the titles they gave them, it's just always, oh my gosh. The Terror of Mechagodzilla, last episode, they called it The Devil's Brood.
what is going on in Germany?
Apparently, they just get to
with
name
their
it whatever
kaiju
they
movies.
want. Crazy. Oh my gosh.
Gross.
Really funny. Anyways, let's get into it, eh?
Not even funny, haha. Just like what? Why?
Something about seal and kissed by a rose. There's a joke somewhere. To this movie.
Baby, let it break his from a rose. Can you tell I do that one at karaoke a lot? So this movie, dude, this movie is something else. Let's just get into it. We
I'm curious
open with
to know
this,
what you mean by that.
it's I know what they were going. I know what they were going for, but I feel like they fell short again. And but the monster's pretty cool.
It's cool. It's in like 10% of the film, maybe.
Yeah. The final form is pretty sweet, and that ends up being like,
that's true.
That thing is like part hydraulics, part Muppet, part they just went like
and all
full crazy on that thing.
It's like a flower got hitched to a crocodile. I don't
Title?
Title. Right, they went down, sir. By the end of the movie, that's kind of very crocodilian head kind of a thing. But forget the end. Start at the beginning. We have a montage recap, I would call it, of The Return of Godzilla.
Previously on Gojira.
Kinda. But we have the theme from 1954 over the top of it. Which is not the music or the theme that they used in The Return of Godzilla. So it's kind of fun to see that sort of recontextualization. I don't know. I love the through line of like bringing back that theme in so many of these movies. That's kind of cool.
It's such a great theme. Like, why wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm. So they like do the montage recap, catching you up to what just happened. And if that wasn't enough, we immediately after, which this is one of the most interesting things for me about this film, is we have an American CNN reporter sort of summarizing all the events that just happened in the last movie. There's Japanese subtitles on the screen. She's talking in English. That is a thing, not necessarily the reporter part, but like English dialogue. Characters that speak English are throughout this film. And, there's Japanese subtitles on the screen. That's interesting. I don't think we really saw any of that in the Showa-era. I don't know if that's something we see more of going forward, where we see more of an international character angle sometimes, maybe.
I know it happens occasionally.
So,
and they do that weird thing that we've commented before, how it just like randomly, we're in English all of a sudden, and then we're back to Japanese. It's like, what?
Yeah, at least in here, there's consistency. There's English speaking characters and they speak English. Like it doesn't really hop back and forth. The thing that maybe I would change, I do have this in my stuff I would change. Man, the English dialogue is just god awful, and also a number of characters you can barely understand what they're saying. Because they don't speak English and they're saying things in English,
and it really
you can tell
contributes
English wasn't their first language.
Yeah, and it just really contributes to the whole like hamburger bang bang America kind of like
sure
attitude of Japan.
Some of these characters speaking English I don't believe aren't Americans.
But like
we have like some Middle Eastern characters who are speaking English, not very well.
Damn it.
So they're not American, but they are speaking English for some reason. It's a choice they went with.
Yeah.
It's just really hard to understand. It actually made me think quite a bit about the concept of, there's a Japanese film, so they don't care whether the English is good or not.
Yeah, they're going to be reading that subtitle.
They may not even know that it's bad. They have the subtitles, so what do they care? And maybe think about like all the times that our American movies, when we have, foreign audio and we have the subtitles, I don't know how good that actor's French is. Like, what you know what I mean? Like, it could be terrible. I would have no idea.
Yeah.
But maybe a French person watching is like, wow, who wrote this? Like, it's terrible. There's just some.
I bet you it's more common than you would think, or than you
real
thought.
Weird, stilted moments with like some bad guys who speak English who are like, trying to steal things and they're running around and shooting and stuff. Just some of the things they say, I'm like, that's not how people talk. I don't know, it just felt really weird.
It's
like, yeah, man, or I don't know. I can't even remember any specific lines.
A little bit like the
really weird,
like the transatlantic accent, which apparently was never a thing. It was a thing that like Hollywood like did, but like nobody actually ever used the transatlantic like. Hey there, Joe, what you know? I'm going over there to get the... You know what I mean? Like that kind of... Do you know what I'm... Like...
I know what it is. Old, I was really enjoying your version of it.
Oh, great.
Absolutely.
Great. Cool. Thanks.
I think it was more common in the 50s, 60s. Definitely 40s, 50s. Like any character in a movie. That's the way they speak. It's sort of like half English, half American.
Yeah.
But it was like only the movies, like you said, kind of weird. Definitely Raymond Burr in 1956 and also later in the 1985 thing, like full on that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I got more notes.
Let's go. Let's just.
My notes like go through the pace of the film so quickly though, so you have to like stop me if there's things you want to chime in on. But not too long after we have a conversation happening, we have this really cool shot of there's like a claw hole in the side of a building. It seems like it's been kind of glassed over, and then camera kind of goes through it, and there's like a lounge, and they're hanging out and having a conversation. And there's a little plaque on the wall that it's the Godzilla Memorial Lounge. At this point, it's like, I think it is canonically 5 years later. So the idea is that the city's like kind of recovered from the events of the last movie, and there's a memorial lounge with like a giant like claw hole in the side of the building. Well, kind of cool.
Yeah, it's just kind of like I wonder if it was just like he stepped through this building kind of thing or whatever, and like
super metal.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So I appreciated that.
Yeah, it's a cool touch.
Yeah, at some point I was noticing like the score in this movie specifically was reminding me a lot of John Williams. Just very different way of scoring a movie. There's some clear themes that were recognizable and memorable in the way that a John Williams score would have. I just found myself thinking of other John Williams movies, 70s going into 80s. I mean, we said earlier, this is the same year the third Indiana Jones movie came out. So, lots of inspiration potentially, but yeah, good stuff. I like kind of like the greenhouse vibes with the scientist guy.
Yeah, just that whole like his like lab, but Yeah, not like so like just dry and like sterile or anything. It was a cool. The whole movie has that like 80s kind of not grunge to it, but like just kind of like I guess maybe a little bit of like 80s grunge to it. Like the grain of the film specifically, like you mentioned that like colors are more saturated, but I think that also maybe makes you notice the film grain a little more. But even the way those dudes are dressed, like the terrorists and stuff, like that one dude with his like mesh gloves and his like their like giant glasses, and like it just is it feels a little more, I don't know. It was a welcome change, like you said, like so many things from the like 70s movies into the 80s.
Big distinction into the Heisei-era for sure. I'm guessing there's not as much of a distinction in the next couple of eras, maybe, but what do I know?
We'll find out.
I mean, 9-year time jump is the biggest time jump I think we have between eras, as far as I know. So, pretty big jump
until like the like late 2000s. Yeah, there's a pretty big.
True, because Final Wars is what, 2003.
Yeah,
big jump after that.
Yeah,
but yeah, Greenhouse is cool. I discovered when I reviewed this film on Letterboxd that someone I know had seen and reviewed this, which is I think the first time that's happened with
nice.
one of these movies.
Yeah,
someone I know had seen this, and they made a joke about I don't know if you grew up watching any VeggieTales things. He made a joke about the Larry Boy Rumor Weed movie that they made like a long time ago. I was like, whoa,
wow,
that's actually
great.
not too far off. My mind actually went a totally different direction. The whole like greenhouse vibe, and then eventually like kaiju, it was making me think of from a lot of different sources the idea of Poison Ivy and the Gotham Batman universe. Which we see cinematically in the cult classic Batman and Robin from the mid-90s with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Loved and hated. Bat nipples, all of those things.
So many.
But that's the movie where we have Uma Thurman in that role. And then if anyone's ever played any of those Arkham games, she's definitely a character that makes an appearance in at least one of those games. And you get some of that lore. But if you subtract like the gothic nature of like Gotham, the greenhouse, and then like plants that like grow and become a giant creature, like that's a thing. There's definitely a boss fight against a giant plant in at least one of those games that I've done as Batman. Like, it was reminding me of that a little bit. Very interesting. So. Oh gosh, early in the film, this was a what were they thinking moment, and I like watched it 3 times, and I'm still not absolutely sure. But there's something that happens with a crash in like a white building that looks like it could be like an art institute, and there's a bunch of people running down the stairs out of the building. It's like very early in the movie, and it's a bunch of English characters because it was an English scene with bad dialogue happening just before it. But this girl runs past the camera, and I swear she says the word hysteria. Literally just, hysteria, as she's walking back. I'm like, is that really what she said? Like, it can't be, can it? But it could. With the scene that was just before it, I was like, maybe she did actually just say the word hysteria as she was screaming and running past.
Yeah.
I had to write that down, because I'm like, there's no way...
Is it like the lab thing because the scientist and his because of the daughter drives the scientist to the lab, and then she goes up that giant staircase or whatever? It's like in the desert.
No, it's earlier in the film. There's like they're having a meeting in that room with like kind of a circular window, and there's like a bang.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
then
A bomb
I don't
goes
remember
off
the reason.
A bomb goes off in the
say
research
that
lab.
Something happened,
and
then there's just like a bunch of maybe students.
Yeah, and they cut
running
to
down
the
stairs outside.
Yeah.
That's that's the moment. I don't remember exactly how far in the film. Gosh, that's crazy. I don't know what she really said, but it really sounds like she said that.
Hysteria.
Hysteria. Great song by Muse, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
if you are an enjoyer of the bass guitar and effect pedals. That's the bass line. Yep. Greenhouse Vibes, cool. Not too long after that. Again, chime in anytime if there's like anything that you have. But we eventually see Godzilla. He emerges.
They free him from the volcano. Yeah.
And brother is looking different from the last film and all films previous.
This design, dude.
Very different.
Very
Big fan.
Design.
He did not skip arm day.
Nope.
No, like you can see the biceps. We don't we don't have the shoulders and the bulk of like legendary pictures, but like his arms looked very, very jacked for some reason. The eyes are a little different, a little less ping pong ball-y, maybe a little more subtle, maybe a little more forward focused. They don't stand out as so white.
I was just gonna say it looked like it almost looked like there's no white in his eye at all. There's that like goldish,
whatever they did really
brown,
helped.
Whatever, and
for some reason he has like these little hippo ears. If you don't know what I mean, Google a hippo. They're real small. They're like these little tiny little flappy things. I don't remember him having visible ears before. I mean, if you just like look it up, I mean, it's cool. There's something about his mouth when he, I guess, especially when he opens it, but even when it's not open, his mouth looks cat-like. There's something about the shape of like the lips, like the curved nature. It's just like a cat. And he has two prominent canines that stick down in a way that I don't think has ever been there before. Even when his mouth is closed, they're sticking down.
Yeah, you can still
when he opens his mouth, it reminds me of like a cat yawning or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like it looks cat-like. And there's something about the whole entourage of it that is like, I don't know how many steps there are, but 3 steps or more closer to what we see in Godzilla -1. Like the shape of that head in that movie has a lot more in common with this design than, definitely anything in the Showa era. So, yeah, big fan.
Yeah, me too.
It was a good look. Still moving slowly.
Yeah, and we get like mouth articulation.
A lot of lower angles
too. Like there's a shot of like it's just kind of like his head. It like stops on him for a moment. It's like him considering something. He just kind of goes, "Rrr," and like his like upper lip moves just a little bit. Like
really,
yeah. So there's just that, and then like there's like articulation in the tongue too when he roars, which is really cool. Yeah, just a big step up in that 9-year gap or whatever of suit making and just like even just the way the materials look, it looks like a lot more believable to me than like Showa era anything. So
yeah, and there's some textural qualities inside of his mouth as well that look a little more skin-like or mouth-like, I think.
Yeah.
Just like they put some time into that design for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. My notes are approaching things that are much later in the movie.
Okay.
So I guess to rewind the clock.
Yeah. I mean, in general, I kind of have, this is actually one of my first movies that I have like favorite human characters.
Really?
The 2 girls that like Mickey, the one that is ESP
Mouse.
sensitive and can do like psionics and stuff, and her friend.
I can sense he's coming.
Yeah,
sorry, that's a really great joke.
Oh no. And her friend Asuka. I just like that pairing, and I don't think. Why do I feel like Mickey comes back in another movie? or
don't
they
know.
just
Spoiler alert.
reused, like they reused that name or something. But it's like they like this
Could be.
the girl that has ESP or psionic abilities or whatever that like can either communicate with Godzilla or is just able to like sense things happening. And eventually they tie that into Mothra a little bit too, which is cool.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't know. I like those two characters. I love this is later in the film, but like when Mickey is attempting to steer Godzilla, or she gets Godzilla to come to them and like like distract from where he was going. That whole
Yeah.
scene is really cool where like he senses her and then just like overpowers her eventually, and I thought it was a cool way to show it, like
He's a lot
that
more
weird
masked.
like red
Yeah, it was a
color
very interesting
shift
moment.
thing. Yeah, it was really cool. And then she just passes out.
We
Yeah.
haven't mentioned it, but there's a whole subplot in this throughout this movie where Mickey's sort of representation of there's individuals with ESP kids, other people. The government seems to not necessarily have a branch, but they seem to have like
Awareness
people
of
with
them.
psychic abilities or ESP. Like some of the people have connections to some people that they seem to lean on or utilize to help their organization do what it needs to do. And Mickey in this movie has some kind of level of ESP where she can sense where Godzilla is or whether he's there or that kind of a thing. And so there's a bunch of shots throughout the movie where she's brought along in a helicopter on a ship or whatever to sort of like be the sonar for what they're doing, so
Yeah.
to speak.
I thought the shots of like when they did that with her when he's still in the volcano and just trying to figure out if he's like alive still or not. And it like cuts to just like
There's like a little
Godzilla in
flash
the lava
in her
or
head.
whatever. Yeah, in her head. And just like, yeah.
She's like, he's awake.
Yeah. I thought the another detail, as long as we're talking about that, that whole like they would cut in like the 4 alarm system of like
Yes.
when
That's
like
right.
like any rumor of Godzilla is this alarm, and then like somebody has seen him, so now that's the second alarm, and now he's like
4 stages.
yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a fun little through line.
And it kind of like it's establishing that. I think it's a good way of like show instead of tell, or just without expressly saying like, hey, we're establishing continuity here. We are like, the government knows Godzilla exists. There's kind of like plans in place for him now. Every single time Godzilla shows up isn't a complete, oh my God, what is happening moment anymore kind of thing. Like we have the beginnings of a special defense force against kaiju or whatever, like that idea kind of forming in these movies.
Yeah. Yeah. So at some point, there's like the whole thing with the greenhouse, and then, oh, wow, like it escaped. And the scientist is like, oh, I did this thing, by the way, and I think I may have made a mistake.
I spliced their genes.
And then,
yeah.
Yeah. And then, so at some point, we have a face off in this bay between Biollante and Godzilla, and yeah. She kind of has like these long tentacles with like heads on them with like mouths or something. And so there's a lot of battle around that and a lot of green blood happening. Which they kind of like
I love the
really
green
lean
blood,
into
dude.
because,
So cool.
it doesn't look like blood. So you could probably get away with more of it. So some atomic breath. Eventually like she's kind of defeated. But apparently not later because she comes back. But it seems like she's defeated. And then there's just other things happening. It's a whole lot of subplots in this movie about like various people fighting over the Godzilla cells. And things made from them and who gets to have protective custody of this or that thing that they don't want other people to have because they can make weapons and things. There's all these interested parties and such things. It seems to me like at least a third of the movie is all of that.
Yeah.
Which is whatever. I don't know.
Well, and it's a return for the series, or a return in general for Godzilla to like some kind of a through line of
like the spy thing,
geopolitics, and paralyzed by fear of use of nuclear weapons, and like this is kind of like Cold War stuff still. And like late 80s, it's just it like you said, we've got the Showa era, late Showa era stuff just kind of ditched any of that kind of stuff and just went for goofy fun smash 'em up monster time. And now we're gonna like these movies are meant to be social commentary, and I think that was the idea originally, and this is them returning to that feeling for sure. So it's going to be a lot more heavy-handed as we go. That's all I can say.
Yeah, definitely sneaking around and shooting at other people and trying to steal stuff. And
yeah.
And then Godzilla's like going through the city, destroying stuff and what have you. So my final notes are like kind of, in the last 20 minutes probably. So well, if there's anything else you liked.
We should talk for a second about the Super X2 and that whole like the diamond reflector plate thing. Cool. That's a really cool idea.
I should have written that down.
I'm glad that they took the time. Like it just seems like in general, like while they didn't get it, like I said, they didn't get it all right, and it is still kind of a clunky Godzilla film, but like they it's like just so many more details are considered a little bit more along the way. It feels a little bit more thoughtful. It feels a little bit more Japanese in its creation. And the detail that's jumping to mind here is that diamond thing. Like they use it a whole bunch, and then they show it start to deteriorate a little bit long before it's like probably 3 minutes but in the film before they even actually say anything about it or realize. They show you it's just like one little small corner just starts to go brown a little bit, and then they keep fighting, and then like minutes later it's like we're losing capacity on this, and there's a small like spark explosion thing.
True.
Yeah, I don't know. And I feel like I mentioned this at the end of last episode but it's in 1984 mostly, and we see it in the recap at the beginning of at the beginning of this movie with like the Super X doing those cool shots like through the building. Isn't that in that movie where they like all of a sudden it comes rotating into the hole through the building and then shoots Godzilla? Yeah, like those kind of cool shots. They've started to do that kind of stuff. Like, I'm just really excited for like this, like that kind of tech is not like, that's not the only time we're going to see that kind of tech either in these movies. And it's fun to get into like more modern ways of combat against Godzilla, and not just like the same tank footage over and over. We're going to see some cool guns. We're going to see some crazy laser stuff. Like, yeah, exactly. So, and yes, I am wearing giant headphones now. We took a break. My AirPods died. So, anywho, before we move on to your closing notes, I just kind of want to get us caught up to where we are, basically. So what has happened so far is there's these G cells. There's this doctor who was working with them. Because of an accident, his daughter died. And 5 years later, he is so overcome with grief about this accident that he is still doing these experiments with G cells, and he takes somehow he has remains of his daughter still, and so he takes bits of her DNA and some cells from a rose that was her favorite flower and Godzilla, and he like mixes them together, and it proves that he did make some crazy monster thing. It starts reproducing like crazy, grows into this giant rumor weed of a thing, and has begun. Well, it's just like at this point, it's just standing up in the middle of a lake crying, basically.
And Miki says that she can like hear
his
or
Shinagawa's
tell that
daughter,
his daughter
right? Yeah, exactly.
is in it or something.
And so Godzilla doesn't even enter the picture, wouldn't have entered the picture really, except for these terrorists that are like, give us the G cells or we're going to let him out. So they let him out anyways. And once he's out, Biollante starts calling for him. And that's where we get the whole like speech from the doctor about like, it's not even brother and sister. They're the same creature, blah, 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 blah. Like all of this. And Godzilla is descending on Tokyo. They're trying to fight him away with the Super X, and we were just talking about the diamond thing. And so now we've kind of like had the first fight between, because there's like a clash between Biollante and Godzilla because she calls to him, wraps him up with all of her vines and BS. So they have a little clash. And then there was the clash with the Super X2 and Godzilla on his way to Biollante. And so now everybody's just kind of like regrouping before the final fight, right? They're trying to figure out if they can fix the Super X2. Godzilla used a bunch of energy, and they make this a plot point. They even talk about it. And I think it's cool because we see this all over the place eventually in Godzilla films. Like in 1984, in The Return of Godzilla, he hits a nuclear plant to recharge himself. And so they start talking about that, and they're like, well, where's he going to go? Which of these nuclear plants on his like
which one we got to protect?
Exactly. So like it's the first time that we've seen the plot point introduced of like Godzilla, like he's hiding, he's recharging, he's like gearing up for a fight kind of thing. They lean on that pretty heavily in the Legendary universe.
Sure. Yeah, I remember that.
In that Monsterverse. But yeah, anyways. So yeah, here we are regrouping for the final fight and taking away.
Yeah. Well, this may have been a little earlier, but we did have that face-off you mentioned between Miki and Godzilla where she's having like a mental battle with him or something. Mm-hmm. Right before he wins, we have a great instance of a dolly zoom. That weird effect where like the camera is moving towards her, but it's zooming out at the same time, and like the shape of the face like compresses, and it's like that kind of like vertigo effect kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I always like to point out when I see that in the film because
it's a really cool
Vertigo
look.
made it famous, but I don't know who invented it, if it was Vertigo or something, but it's like, cinematic history. It gives you that really unsettled feeling, like something bad is gonna happen.
Yeah.
And like you're getting that perspective shift. There's actually, have you ever watched the show Severance?
A couple of episodes. I started it, and Sam wasn't really into it, so we didn't keep going.
Well, it is excellent. I recommend it. But there's a sort of the thing with when they arrive in the elevator, there's like a whole thing where they do like a very, very tight dolly zoom on their face, and you see like without seemingly the camera changing position, like like their face shape shifts in place. And it's because like I'll have to like send you a video to explain it, but it's like when you shoot someone with a long lens from far away, it looks very different from when you like do like your 0.5 on your camera up close. Like the shape of your face is different, and that shift can tell you a whole lot of perspective things about a character depending on how you choose to shoot that person. portrait photographers will talk about that, like what's the best focal length, it's like the most flattering, that kind of a thing. Anyways, I think dolly zooms look really cool. My favorite one is in the Fellowship of the Ring, and they just escape from like the farm. They're about to start their journey. They're in the woods, leaves are rustling, other three hobbits are like arguing about something. Frodo can sense something is coming. It's the Black Riders, but he can sense something. He's like,
Oh,
we should get off the road. There's like a moment. There's like this like path through the woods. They do it kind of like a dolly zoom, but it's not on a character. It's just on like the empty path, and it's the most unsettling thing.
Yeah.
It's like really weird. Next time you out there watch Fellowship of the Ring, look for that moment.
Keep your eyes peeled.
Okay, I wanted to point out there's some. I think he's supposed to be a Middle Eastern character with a gun and glasses and a ponytail throughout the whole film. He's like one of the bad guys trying to get all the stuff. It's a choice. And he's always like using his rifle on people and showing up to be an annoying guy throughout the film. But there's a moment where he's like, he's in the high rise. I can't remember if he stole something or what he was doing, but Godzilla's walking past the building. And his accent is real thick, this guy, but he turns around and he like sees Godzilla's head going by, and he says, "Damn, it's Godzilla." And then it just cuts, and I'm like, it was the most random line to put in the movie.
Damn.
That'd be a really good title, actually. So I thought that was funny.
What would be a good title?
Just that line in quotes.
Oh, yeah.
Little on the nose. And then kind of towards the end of the film, they have sort of this area on the ground where they put all this sort of like these, I call them zap pads, but these points in the ground that they can sort of remotely, or maybe it's when you step on it, but they're trying to raise the body temperature of Godzilla because they've infected him with. I guess we didn't even really talk about this, but
no, it's a pretty good plot point, honestly.
They developed a bioweapon using bacteria that have been engineered to eat nuclear things. That's kind of what they wanted to use the cells for. They end up making it, and they use it on Godzilla. They like shoot some rocket launcher things at him to get into his system. One actually gets shot directly in his mouth, so he's infected, but it's not taking effect very quickly. And they're like,
because he's a cold-blooded animal.
We need to raise his body temperature so the bacteria can like do their thing faster. So he's like going through this field, and they have all these sort of these zap pads on the ground, and they have like these giant like satellite dish looking things. They're like zapping him with those. He's stepping on these pads on the ground that are like zapping him with electricity, raising his body temperature, so that he eventually like slows down. I think that's also when Biollante shows back up in crocodile form, so to speak, with just way too many arms. More arms than a crocodile could ever have need for. Title. And eventually defeats Biollante, runs out of juice, pretty much face plants into the water at the edge of the ocean.
Yeah.
But the thing that I wrote down is that after that moment, our rifleman shows up, and there's a whole tussle and like some car crash. It's like a whole lot of like unnecessary things, honestly, after that moment that don't really contribute anything to the plot of the movie. But they're fighting.
Well, it was a way to kill the doctor.
One of our main guys was like tussling with the rifle guy, and they're fighting over their rifle. And you know, there was something in that moment that you mentioned. What was it that you noticed?
It's at the end of that fight when he climbs out of the
after the fight.
Yeah, he comes out of the pit.
Calls him Bat.
Oscar says you look like Batman he's got dirt on his face.
It's funny.
She's laughing at him.
But anyways, during that little tussle that's happening, you can see these zap pads in the background, and they're like near it, and they're huge. That through line helps tell scale really nicely.
Yeah.
Little details like that really help a lot with selling skill. So I like that. Not the tussle or really any of. I didn't care about any of that, but those little details are nice. Things I would change. There's a moment earlier where the two bad guys come in to steal the briefcase with the stuff from the Middle Eastern oil guy wearing like a yellow helmet or something.
Yeah.
And they're like fighting over it. And they bunk him on the head. And they put a timpani sound in for some reason. It was the most Looney Tunes choice
dude.
of all time. Why?
Took
Didn't
me
listen
right
to
out
any of
of
the
it.
rest of the film. Literally just like a timpani hit, like Bugs Bunny. Barring. Oh, he's knocked unconscious
and then the
now.
dude goes, "That's what you've got to do with his kind," or whatever. Like,
This is like the most random. So many of these scenes just are not helpful.
wild.
Probably the dumbest thing in this movie. Biollante dies. Sort of. Thanos' finger snapped into a million pieces.
Yeah, just kind of like dissipates
floated
into
into the
space.
air.
Yeah,
Which that would have been fine. But we insert the dead
Erica.
daughter's spirit face just into the middle of the floating lumps,
like
floating up into the air.
90s photo portrait studio style.
Like really bad.
Yeah, it's real bad. It's so bad.
And my objection is not that it looked bad, or even the whole plot point with maybe we're not really going to spell it out. Maybe his daughter's spirit is in a kaiju or something. Maybe maybe not. It was sort of mentioned offhand. My objection isn't any of those things. My objection is if you're going to do the whole like his daughter's spirit is in the thing created by her dad, you don't need to show it. Like, we get it.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the ESP girl sensed it, and
we
sort
get
of
it.
Like
He
it's
turned
an
his daughter
analogy.
into a kaiju.
We don't need to see her face
get it.
floating into the sky.
Yeah, we get it.
Why? You did not need to spell that out. Like, we got the idea before you showing a floating, photo booth at the mall photo. Yeah. And also, there were some really poorly edited music cues in this movie. Just like, it just cuts out or fades out in the middle of, definitely there's still music playing, but they just kind of faded it out rather than composed it to line up with the scene. Some like hard cuts, just weirdness. I don't know.
There were a couple musical, they're just straight like pop songs in this movie that I loved a lot.
Oh, there's like a pop music insert of like in Osaka. They showed from a long way away like a stadium and then like an announcer voice saying that everyone needed to evacuate.
Concert's canceled.
But they like the song just came in so loudly.
Yeah.
And unexpectedly. Then they explained like what was happening and the music stopped. It was just like really poorly.
Yeah.
Like the levels
that was definitely
right.
definitely one of the like it was just like a poorly done transition. But that kind of music has an actual name. I don't know if you know this or not, but you can it's become one of my favorite genres of music in the last 4 years. It's called city pop, and it was big in Japan from like in the 80s, like late 70s to mid 90s. Couple bands off the top of my head are Cassiopeia and Masayoshi Takanaka is one of my favorite like solo artists. He's a guitar player. But yeah, just like it's pop music, but it's got this like it's very very Japanese, but city pop. But yeah, those it's like those moments busted it, and I was like, oh man, this is like it just it was a really good use of those to me because it like really evoked the era of where these films were happening. and were good little pops. I thought they were like used well. It just was like you said, like the volume and the balance of them was very, very off. But I liked where they were going with throwing in pop amongst that kind of like haunting John Williams-esque soundtrack otherwise.
Gotcha.
But yeah, do a better mix. Just do a better mix.
Yeah, it was amateur level out here. That's the end of my thoughts.
Cool.
Would you rate it?
Ooh, I didn't, but while I'm thinking about it, I think I'd give it a 3 out of 5. Biollante is a pretty badass kaiju, and is one of the in the fandom, like the people that are like really into Godzilla. Biollante stands as one of the coolest kaiju, and mostly just because of the model, and what they did to make that model work, and like there's just so much. It's
inventive.
Yeah, inventive, and like easily one of the like craziest like suits they ever made, for sure. Like the monsters get pretty weird, but like even Gigan seems, with his like saw blade in his chest and his hook hands, still doesn't seem quite as wild as Biollante to me. So, but yeah, it's yeah, I like it. It's a good movie in that it is such a solid step into the Heisei-era and really does continue to set the tone that they're like, hey, we're not going back to funny, goofy time here. We're going to go back to cultural commentary and telling stories about things that we're actually kind of really nervous about that are going on in the world right now, which I there's room for that kind of art, and I think there needs to be, so yeah.
Yeah, it's a 3.5.
3.5.
I put it the same as The Return of Godzilla, which maybe that's a hot take.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like some things about it.
Yeah.
Thought it was fine.
It seemed like
it's definitely more modern.
It seemed like the stuff you liked was longer than the stuff that you didn't, which was not always the case. So
true. Yeah, not too shabby.
Sweet.
So yeah.
Do I still have my digital assistant up here? I do. Where are you? There you are.
Where are you?
I am so sorry. Can't sleep. Can't dream tonight. So that was Godzilla vs. Biollante. Genetic engineering and biotechnology horror, and a dad who just makes some really weird decisions about how he mourns his daughter. So don't be like that guy. Stop your gene splicing and your CERN and whatever your colliding particles under the ground there in Switzerland. Enough of it, okay? Enough. Next movie is Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. Again.
We've seen many times, but
Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, 1991. This time we've got time travel. We've got nationalism. We've got Cold War revisionism. We've got something else that ends in ism. And we'll see you next time on the One About Godzilla movies.
If you like tisms, look no further than the One About Godzilla movies.
Nationalism, Cold War revisionism, autism.
Several other isms.
Hey, you know what we didn't do? I don't care.
Makes sense.
We're skipping it. I don't care. Anything else to say for Patreon? We didn't do trivia. Do you have any fun trivia? I didn't look up trivia.
I also did not look up trivia.
Hey, guess what? We didn't do trivia this week. Who cares? If you want to look up trivia, go look up trivia. This is all going on Patreon. If you want to look up trivia, go. Do you know how you do it? You go to Google. You say trivia Godzilla Biollante.
You telling this to me or the listener who's in their car right now?
Yes.
Both. I do have trivia up. I just I had not read through it yet.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
See if there's anything that stands out to me. Final form, 20 crew members to manipulate. That thing looked big.
Dang. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. At one point in time, this movie was going to feature a fish-rat hybrid. Another one of the Doctor's creations.
What?
I think we dodged that one.
I'm glad we dodged that one.
And it was called Diotilios.
Oh, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I will.
Very weird.
I will. We'll go ahead with a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'll make all that work. I promise. Well, I don't. Whatever. Who cares? I've got a trivia bit that we didn't. We talked about at the beginning, and then we didn't come back to. So at one point, the Doctor makes a claim that Biollante is the spirit of the plant in Norse mythology. The
name Biollante.
The name Biollante, yes. According to the Internet Science Machine, Biollante has no direct connection to Norse mythology, and the character's name is a fictional reference to a plant spirit from the film's dialogue. The name Biollante was invented by the creator of the monster, and yeah, totally just they wrote that into the movie for funsies.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm seeing here more about Mickey. It's saying that she has more appearances in the Heisei-era.
Yes, dude, I thought so.
So she
Ghidorah, right?
This is a low bar, but it's saying here that she is the human character with the most appearances in Godzilla film series. I don't know how many appearances that is, but looks like we'll see her again.
I don't.
So that's cool.
I don't think she's in Destroya.
Okay.
But King Ghidorah and Mothra definitely make sense. But Mechagodzilla, no, it might. Who knows? We'll find out. We're gonna find out together here on the One About Godzilla movies. Here's the second time I'm ending the show. Unless you got more trivia. Do you have more trivia? You want me?
Not anything quick.
Great, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. This one's fallen off the rails very quickly, so we're just gonna fade to black now. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.